okay, time for something just a little different. So I went through my CDs and I found 15 albums that you pretty much consider as metalcore or more mainstream metal from the 2000s. And I don't listen to much of this stuff anymore, so just go through it one by one briefly. And no need to beg on it. Some of these are pretty good albums, and if you like them, cool. Can't say I listen to anything modern by any of these bands, but Alive or Just Breathing by Killswitch Engage. I believe this was the last one with Jesse before he left the band the first time. Prior to that, I had bought this one, The End of Heartache. Definitely a more mainstream thing than what I was used to, but the singles had me kind of impressed. I found it was a fresh sound at the time, and I was into it. So this came out on Roadrunner in 2004, and I think it's still a solid release. This is Caliban Shadow Hearts. Caliban are a metalcore band from Germany, and this came out on Life Force in 2003. Definitely a little bit more of a metal band than some of these albums I'm going to look at. I think I saw a decent review in Terrorizer of these guys, and that's why I bought it. Bleeding Through the Truth. This came out on Trustkill in 2006. A lot of these albums I'm looking at here are bonus discs. What is this? Just a Trustkill sampler. But yeah, it was one of those albums that I kind of wonder what possessed me to buy it. I think I mentioned this record store that was by my apartment in college. And they just had lots of metalcore stuff, and sometimes you were just desperate for something new and you take what you could get. At the time, I thought it was okay, but I haven't listened to this in, it's been almost 20 years. Hatebreed, Satisfaction is the Death of Desire, the debut album in 1997. This was a big album at the time. Right away, Hatebreed had a big following, and this rapidly became the best-selling record in Victory Records history, at least up until this point. Hundreds of thousands of records, back when people bought CDs. And I always liked, at least on the albums I'm familiar with, I thought Jamie had a pretty good voice for this style. And I recall the third song, Before Dishonor, being my favorite. So I was still on board for the second album, Perseverance. It was more of the same, but I didn't find it very memorable. I thought it was just kind of unremarkable, and I never listened to a Hatebreed album again, for better or for worse. The War Within by Shadows Fall. I think this was their second album, May 3rd. Yet another disc, what is it? A Century Media sampler. But yeah, these guys have always been much more of an at the gates thing than a hardcore thing. So this album was okay. 2004. There's another band with some parallels to them I'll talk about a little later. Chimera, the self-titled album. This is 2005 on Roadrunner. And at the time, this album did get a bit of hype with the more extreme metal press, that this was a worthy metalcore album to add to your collection. And again, I haven't listened to them forever, but I thought it was okay. Roadrunner United, the All-Star Sessions. This came out in 2005. And if you didn't know, the story behind this album is that 4 prominent members of the Roadrunner roster. Collaborated with dozens of musicians, both past and present Roadrunner signees, and just made a whole bunch of songs together. And the 4 songwriters were, I think they got them right here actually. So you got Dino from Fear Factory, Joey from Slipknot, Rob from Machine Head, and Matt from Trivium. And Matt was definitely a new kid on the block at the time. And Trivium have gone on to be a big band, but not a band I've really spent much time with. Big name here, Slipknot, the debut album. Is it metalcore? Not really. Is it new metal? Not really, but I think it's a good place to put it in my videos because I don't have a lot of albums like this. 1999, once again on Roadrunner. And I'm not trying to be Mr. Cool, but I heard this when I was like 14. I heard the song Spit It Out on a sampler, and just the vocals. I was like, what is this? No, just no, not for me. But a couple years later, Iowa came out, and that definitely got a lot of press. I think a lot of metal fans still consider it their best album. And I think the press they got on that album actually still keeps some metal people in the fold. It was just, I guess Joey was giving a lot of the interviews at the time. Much more likable than the guy that's given the interviews nowadays. But he would just talk a lot about his love for death metal and cryptopsy and that kind of stuff. So a lot of metal fans gave it a second listen, myself included. But again, this isn't really my thing. However, these last 5 albums, I got some positive things to say about. The self-titled album by Raging Speedhorn. This came out in 2000 on Steamhammer SPV. And I gotta give these guys credit as being definitely more of a straight-up metal band, not just a metalcore band. But this is very heavy, very angry. This is a great release. And once again, like Caliban, I think I saw a review of them in Terrorizer. But I think this one here, I think it was like a 9.5 out of 10. Nothing Face, Violence. 2000 on TVT Records. Now, I'm not sure what it was about these guys, but I thought this was a great album. Definitely more emotional, a bit more flavor, some Deftones vibes. I thought this was a great release. Unearth, The Oncoming Storm. Very typical metalcore from one of the big names of the genre. This came out. Metal Blade. Oh, it was probably about 2004. I don't see the year here. But I really liked this at the time. And I still tell myself this is one of the better albums of the genre. And I think it's the 4th or 5th song. It's that song with the long, awesome guitar solo. I feel a lot of people reference that song, but I like it too. That's kind of my go-to from this one. As I Lay Dying, Shadows Are Security. Another big name that would break up under some very unfortunate circumstances and more recently have reunited, toured. I don't know if there's new music. I'm not too interested, but this album at the time I thought was solid. And finally, Between the Buried and Me, Alaska. Maybe a little bit of a reach. Maybe I should give them more credit than just saying metalcore, but they did have their roots in that scene. What's that? The Victory Show, a bonus DVD of Victory stuff. But more progressive metal than anything. But starting with the album before this, definitely had a lot of progressive elements creeping in. And this album is where they, I think, reached another level of popularity and another level of musical influence. And they've gone on to be a great band, just not one that I've kept up with. So that's it. 15 metalcore albums of varying qualities, and thanks for watching.